Hey guys, Caleb here with Life Necessities. So I'm just doing an overall review of the Xtool P3. So overall, comes in several $1,000s, around $8,000 total. You get the accessories and everything comes out to about $9,000, maybe $10,000, depending on if you get the rotary tool, you get the ventilation system. But with that, it's hard to look at something and say, oh, this costs this much money, this is too expensive, or this costs way too much. But after having this about, I don't know, 3 months now, and using it and putting it through its paces, I've got to say that I have a stellar review to give. There's another company that I used, and I went through multiple different versions all the way up to their pro version, and they overall was a great system. I'm not going to say the system because I don't want to badmouth anyone. If I don't have something nice to say, I just won't say it. But what I will say is that the company did provide me a basis and foundation to understand what I needed to know when it comes to using a laser machine. The step up was not taken lightly. I don't mean to say that like spending $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 is something that you should just, do and don't worry about. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I used another machine and tried to gain my knowledge without having such a high learning curve. Now that being said, if you're new to laser machines, you're new to cutting things and engraving and all that, the initial thing that you're going to do is you're going to look on Amazon and see how much these cost. Initially, you're going to go for the open boxed laser machine. They're only a couple $100s, and you're thinking, okay, well, this will get me into it, make me understand. Actually, my wife is the one that stopped me from doing that, because that's the route that I was going to go. And unfortunately, with something like that, you've got to realize the amount of smoke that comes out of wood when you're engraving it and cutting it, and the hazard that causes. So you're going to have to be outside. You can't do one of these open sources and just be in your house doing it. You're not going to be able to do that. It's hazardous for you and everyone in the house. On top of that, they just don't. One of the things that you're going to do is you're going to have to measure the depth of the wood. You're going to have to measure the corners, each single one. You're going to have to come in and you're going to have to say, basically create and program each one of those things to the exact time. Once you have it dialed in, then you can put in your file, then you can get to the part that you want to do. But every single time you're going to have to do that phase. And the amount of time that's going to take, it just really cuts down the amount of time you have in your day. For me, I was able to do a bunch of home remodels, and I've had that as a career. Not a career, but basically it helped while I was building my career. And then, so I've done a lot of carpentry, I've remodeled homes, I've built tables, and I've gone through all of the gamuts of how do you make extra money? How do I make sure that my wife can stay home with our kids while working a full-time job, and then doing another job, and then doing a part-time job, and doing handyman work. I mean, again, I've gone through a lot. I've done a lot in my age, and I think it's something that's missing is that people don't know how to use their hands anymore. So with that being said, I think using a laser machine brings the best of both worlds. So I highly suggest, if you're going to do that, you don't have to start out with getting the Xtool P3. Xtool has a lot of different options, from the X1, the X2. There's a lot of engraving pieces. I mean, they have so many to choose from. Now, not that I'm just biased on Xtool, but one of the biggest things that they provide is user basic capability, basically. So they're user friendly. Everything is inside of them. You can look back through my videos and you're going to see that everything is inside of the Xtool system. Creative Space is what it's called, and they basically included everything you need to know. So you can see behind me, I'm going to show you how big the Xtool P3 is in just a second, actually, but start with one of those, work your way up. But just as an example, when it comes to, you know, is this worth it? You can look behind me right here. You're gonna see I made a 3 foot, about 2 feet, sorry, about 2 feet flag with the Alaska symbol. We've got the My Life's Necessity logo, which is massive. And then on top of that, there's a lot of multi-layer pieces. You can see the dog that I put up right here. Those are the things that sold really well, and they'll kind of like put us on the map. But I highly suggest you kind of do your research. And one of the things that the Xtool does, it has this automatic system. So it's going to scan everything. You don't have to check and measure and do all these things on your pieces. So the other company I had that already built in. I thought that was something that was valuable, and it was only a couple $1,000s, which again, I understand is a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money. You have to save up to try something as a hobby. I didn't even want to do it, but my wife had bought it for me because I basically do everything around the house for them, and I don't like to spend it myself. So it was the best investment we ever did. So to recap, the overall Xtool P3 on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, on a different categories, 10 being functionality and being able to use it every day and it keep running, 10. 10. 1 out of 10 as far as cost. You know, again, this is now being in the laser world for quite a while. For cost wise, I've got to say it's got to be an 8 or a 9. I mean, it's got to be an 8 or a 9, because yeah, the Xtool P3 can get expensive, but like I said, I've had this piece now, just to give you an idea, I've had the piece for about 2 to 3 months, and I think I've almost already paid the machine off. And how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of ways. You can make wood art, you can make multi-layer wood art, you can make glass, you can do slate, you can do farmers markets, you can do Facebook Marketplace, you can do realtors, loan officers. There's a lot of ways that you can do it. Now again, there's a learning curve as you get in, but start with one of the smaller machines, don't spend as much, and then kind of work your business and build it up like we've done. I do have to say, overall, ability to build, and the bed is so large that there hasn't been really anything that I couldn't make. And then you can always cut things and put them on larger pieces and create, if you look back at my videos, there was a bakery, the Salty Sourdough Bakery, that I made a like 3 foot by 3 foot sign, and then cut everything inside the Xtool P3 and then put that on top. So I mean, there's a lot of options and a lot of things you can do to use it. And then last but not least, guys, I mean, it's turned out to be such a great piece of machinery. So it is heavy, it's exactly what you want. The bed I switched out, they come with slats, so I would highly suggest not using those. Get the honeycomb. The reason that you're gonna want that is because when the wood lays flat, be like this. If it's laying on slat, sometimes it has pressure here, and sometimes it will have pressure over here, and then when it's bending, it's not like laying perfectly still. There's also some magnets that you'll see in my videos that I'm using that holds the wood down, so that really helps as well. So it makes it just perfectly level, and it always cuts the same every time. Yeah, so overall, highly suggest, if you're in the laser world, this is what you need. There's another company, I think it's like Thunder, and I think theirs starts at like I think, don't quote me, I don't know, like 13 or 14,000, somewhere in that. I think the one we were looking at was like 15,000, but great company from what I see. As far as the user friendly, everything that I could tell, Xtool is just so user friendly. There's not a really big learning curve. It does so much for you. So if you look at me, I can show you how big it is. So here we are. This is how massive this piece is. I mean, quite large.